Go ahead and close your eyes if you can. Relax your forehead. Unclench your jaw. And relax your shoulders away from your ears. Together, we're going to take a nice deep breath in through the nose, filling up your diaphragm and your lungs. And on your exhale, exhaling out your mouth, letting go. We're going to take another deep breath in through your nose, filling up your diaphragm and fully inhaling into your lungs. Once you get to the top, taking a quick pause. And then exhale out your mouth, letting go. Gently open up your eyes if you closed them. Welcome to Mindful Moves with me, your host, Daniela Jensch. I have a very relevant topic for today, and I think that it's something that all of us can really relate to, and it's feeling behind in life and why we feel like that, and why I think it's particularly relevant, why I was really passionate to record this now at the end of the year, is because it's the end of the year. I feel like many of us are looking back. We humans love milestones and timelines, right? So it's the end of the year. We're going to look back in 2025, think about how it went, reflect on what we've achieved, how we felt, what's changed, who we are. And that comes sometimes with looking at where you are in your life according to your definition of success. And so often, I mean, it's everywhere, where people are rebranding themselves for 2026, or they're having glow ups, or they're working really hard towards something and they're showing that journey, or people are just shifting gears or changing careers. There are so many things that people want to achieve when the new year comes. They want everything to change. They want to enter into a year where their life is finally what they want it to be. And while having goals and having vision for the future is a beautiful thing to have, I want you to remember that you do not need to change your entire life January 2026. If anything, I'm not a fan of New Year's goals and resolutions. Reason being is you set such a high target and you hurt yourself in the process when you can't reach them, but they're so unrealistic. So I prefer to focus on how you can work with yourself on a day-to-day. We don't even know what's going to happen in a month. We don't even know what's going to happen in a year. But what we can focus on is the present day and how you feel in it in that moment, right? And this ties into the topic of feeling behind. Now, how does it show up in your body? And what I've come to realize is that it shows up as a feeling of stagnancy. It's a feeling of stuckness or freeze. It's when your nervous system feels a sense of urgency and as if you need to achieve something, is if you need to get somewhere faster than your current timeline looks like, right? Why is this so relevant right now? Or why is it so prevalent right now? And that is because it's everywhere. Think back to a time where people would live in a small town, in a small area, and the only time you would know what people were accomplishing on their life path was because you probably drove past, or you heard it from a friend or your gran when you had coffee. You would hear when people would buy their first home, get engaged, or fall pregnant, or change their careers. You would hear about this in, via the grapevine. But nowadays, we are watching people, multimillionaires across the globe, let's say in Australia, who've just bought a beachside mansion with 20 rooms, and they're doing a room tour of every single room in their mansion. And we are watching this. And they might be the same age as us. And so your brain is automatically, number one, filled with so many people's timelines, more than we've ever been used to. And secondly, we are now at a level of comparison that is worldwide, not just your little town. And so it's a lot for your brain to handle if you think back to the basics, and I urge you to, the basics of who we are at a core. It can feel like a lot, and that can create this urgency to achieve and to do and to be successful. It could also be, let's say you're not a big social media user, it could also be that you are maybe in a friendship group that prides themselves on these achievements, on achieving something or a certain career or status. Maybe it's buying homes and cars. Maybe you feel like you're in a constant loop within your own circle of trying to achieve and do better because everybody's in comparison with each other and everybody's in competition with each other. There's so many ways it plays out in our own life. So we can't really always control what's happening on the outside. But what we can focus on and what we should focus on is what that means to you. What does that mean on a soul level to you when you're feeling behind? And the third thing that I want to speak on, just as we're doing an overview before we get into how to find your own pace in life, is timelines. We have for many, many, many years had a prescribed timeline given to us. Depending on what culture and what status you are, it obviously has its own adjustments and its own version of that. But the one I grew up knowing was you are born, you get educated, you go to school, you go to university if you can, if you are privileged enough to do these things. If you don't go to university, you get a job, you find the love of your life. Everything is perfect. Every relationship is perfect. And no one ever fights. Everything's amazing. You get engaged. You then get married. You then have kids. You then work very, very, very hard. You then retire and enjoy a little bit of your life. And then you die. That was the version that I knew. And that's a version that I think many can relate to with its, little detail changes. But there's always been in this like underlying current of a timeline. And so no wonder we feel so much pressure when it comes to achieving these timeline goals and feeling behind in life and not getting the money that we want or the job that we want or the person that we want, with all these people changing careers, hopping into relationships around us, and that we are shown. And so, of course, you might feel stuck. Of course, your nervous system might feel this sense of urgency. And that's why, and if you take anything from this episode, just listen to this part. That's why it can feel so scary and so hard when you go off the usual path, and why it feels like you're so behind in the beginning. Because if you pivot, if you end a long relationship, if you change careers, if you decide to pause everything and focus on your healing, you can feel really scared, and you would feel, because your nervous system prefers the familiar feeling of the normal path, the one that's so deep in our subconscious brain. And so when you go off that, you feel like you're starting at zero again, and everybody else is achieving and doing, and you are different. And again, that ties into our feeling of being part of a community. And so here's what we're going to do. We're going to focus on a few aspects on how to find that pace for yourself again. Because I really, really urge you to take a broader look at your life, especially if you're comparing yourself to other people. How about sitting and finding out if that's actually worth your time? How are we going to do this? So when you're looking to find your own pace in life so that you stop feeling behind, there's two key aspects. There's quite a few. It was difficult for me to narrow down, but I really want to focus on these two. Number one, you need to build a relationship with yourself. You need to have an intimate relationship with yourself. It needs to be the single most important relationship that you have. You need to know yourself deeply. You need to question the current beliefs you have. You need to sit with yourself and ask yourself all these questions. That means making time for yourself. That means doing reflective questions. And yes, it can feel like effort, but any relationship is effort. Why is it that we put in effort into our romantic partners or into our friendships, into our family lives? We need to do the same, and we need to bring that same energy into the relationship with ourselves. Start asking yourself about this timeline. When I just spoke about it earlier, when I mentioned the steps of education and working and achieving your dreams and getting engaged and getting married and having babies, how did that all feel within you? Have you ever sat to really question what that means to you? What do you think about marriage? What do you think about having children? What do you really feel about the timeline of life? If it works for you, and I'm not saying that there's a right way and a wrong way, there's really never. There's so much gray in between. But what matters is how you feel about it, not what your parents thought about it, it, not what your best friend might feel, even though you love them to bits. It's about how you feel about it for yourself. And that's where you can start showing up honestly in your life. That's where the change won't feel as scary because you're going to be acting in alignment. So instead of sugarcoating it with, well, at least I'm on the proper timeline that was given to me, that I've learned, and that has been in my belief system forever, you're going to be able to be braver if you choose to divert from that path. You might find out, which is again a beautiful thing, you might find out that that path is perfect for you, that you love that path, that you feel happy on that path and you want it more than anything. Great. Then you know you're working in the right direction. But if it's the latter, if you don't feel aligned, if you don't feel it's the way forward for you, this is a great time to give yourself the courage and the understanding of what you do want in the future. But that means being present with yourself right here and now, and sitting with yourself. We can easily get into the trap of trying to listen to a million podcasts, read a lot of books, ask everybody for advice, and ask everybody else about their timeline. But you need to sit and figure out what your timeline is. I cannot even give you that answer. I need you to just sit with yourself and sit and question the timeline. Once you're clear on that, this ties into step number 2. You need to recreate your definition of what success looks like, because it's become so warped in achievements rather than the day-to-day living of our lives that we so focus on highlight reels, not just on social media, but in real life too. We focus so much on the achievements and the goals and getting to certain things, and our worth is tied into that. But what does your day-to-day look like? What is your definition of success? Mine has vastly shifted. I used to have the belief of, okay, well, success is going to look like if I have many followers, or I make a lot of money, or I buy a house. I don't even know where that came from until I sat with myself and I redefined my version of success. My version of success, from going from an example, having many followers, shifted to, I want intentional conversation with community. And that's what happened for me. I have so many people that I speak to, whether it's on the podcast, wherever it might be, where we connect. I've achieved that and I feel success within me because that's been my goal. It's shifted for me because it means so much to me to have intentional conversations with beautiful humans and connect and make people realize that we are so much more similar than we could ever even imagine. We carry so many of the same wounds. And if we speak about them, something within us heals. And I feel great that that shift has happened. I used to maybe believe that buying a home is what I wanted. It's not. Success to me has shifted in the sense that I now value health more than anything. It's the most important thing to me. I value stillness. I value peace within me by being by myself. I used to always feel that, you're supposed to be busy, and just because you are someone who loves to talk and entertain people, that you should do that all the time. That's not how it works. And it was only when I sat with myself, I realized that success was choosing myself every day in small ways, not rushing and jumping and leaping into achievements and goals just because everybody else was doing them. I gave myself the freedom and the room to grow within my special little bubble. And through that, through defining my version of success and what that looks like, I have attracted the most amazing opportunities. I have created beautiful things. I have attracted the most amazing, loving people into my life. I have a wonderful relationship with my family, my friends, my partner. But I wouldn't have been able to have that success, that definition of success, if I hadn't sat with myself and thought about what it meant to me. So those are my 2 top tips, and they may sound so simple. You need to realize that you don't need to feel behind. It's a weird concept anyways. What timeline are we even following? There is no behind. Stop focusing so much on the future and the future of your goals, and sit right here and right now and see where you can meet yourself now in the present moment. So those are my 2 top tips. And I know that as we ending the year, this can be a very, very stark feeling within us. And I hope you realize that it doesn't have to be, and that you have full control over that. Thank you guys so much for being here. It's edging on to the end of the year, and I have just so been enjoying creating beautiful things for you all. And again, so grateful for this community. Remember, the light that you're constantly seeking outside of yourself is just waiting to be acknowledged within. Wishing you a beautiful day. See you next week. Bye.